Welcome back to the BRSN Insider. Josh Pound now joined by senior keeper for the men's soccer team, Isaac Jenkins. Isaac coming off a outstanding performance last week against Baker University that resulted in the Hart Defensive Player of the Week. So, Isaac, I guess the first thing we'll start with is just take us back through that match and how you think how things played out from your perspective.
Yeah, so we actually decided to change things up a little bit when it went into the game. We decided to play a little bit more direct. We knew that Baker, they were going to be a good team and that we needed that win for sure. It would have been nice for it to come earlier in the season, but it's always nice to get that first win against Baker as well. It was a tough game. It was a hard-fought game. That's the best I've seen our team grind all season. It was really nice. Hopefully there's more of that to come for sure. But like I said, it was a hard-fought game, and, I mean, everyone that started, everyone that came in, they did their role, and we ended up with the win.
Couple of huge saves in the second half kind of preserved not only the win but the shutout. How key was it not just to get the win but then to also keep that shutout intact for you and your defensive players?
Yeah, it was – I mean, it's something that we talk about at the beginning of every season. We have a set amount of goals that we would like to let in for the season. To get a shutout is really nice, of course. It definitely makes the defense, even the forwards and midfield, and of course me, we're on our high horse right now. We're loving life right now with that shutout. But yeah, it was nice, and I mean, I couldn't have done it without the 10 guys in front of me. It's not just me keeping the shutout. It's all of us. It's the guys on the bench. It's even, the people in the stands, the players that don't make the team but still come out to the support. It's not just me, it's everybody that's helping me get that clean sheet.
Obviously, a little bit of I guess brutal would be the great way to put it, start to the season as far as who we're playing. Some of the top teams in the conference. Obviously, to be a top team in the conference, you have to perform against some of the top teams, and kind of taking out that Central Methodist game to start the season off with. It was a tough loss to William Penn. It kind of went back and forth. I've gone back and looked at some of the goals that William Penn scored and the one from distance that made one of the NAI top plays. That had to have been like, what just happened, let alone, seeing it fly at you from the distance that it was at. But how do you feel, do you feel like the guys are learning as things go, as far as, what it's going to take in order to stay towards the top and compete against some of the best in the conference?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, CMU is a tough game to start the season with. William Penn, another tough game, just because that's a grinding team. They just like to play. They like to grind. They get their goals. Beginning of the season, we usually have a problem trying to get our feet under and figure out what kind of team we are. But clearly, it showed during that Baker game that we can grind with these teams. We can compete for that top. It's just, like I said, in the Heart of America Conference, you just have to grind. You got to play those tough teams, and you just have to grind hard. And so for teams to figure that out early into the season is kind of difficult, especially playing no preseason games. That was probably the most difficult part, was no preseason games and jumping straight into CMU, which clearly wasn't fun. But, I mean, it was tough. It was a tough start, but like I said, the guys are hyped right now. We're all living life right now, loving it after that win against Baker, and we'll see what happens tonight and the rest of the season.
Well, obviously things are, have a different look and feel to them this year as we try to navigate playing, matches and practices during the height of a pandemic. When you guys get out there for the 90 minutes, is it starting to kind of feel a little bit more normal for you guys, or are you still conscious of kind of what's going on around you, or is the focus just completely, hey, we get to play soccer right now, and that's where the focus is during a match?
Yeah, I mean, practice is a lot different. We still have to take into account wearing masks, trying to social distance and everything. But when it comes to games, I mean, everyone's head is in it for 90 minutes or even plus if that happens. But I think, when you step on that field, you have the fans chanting for you, and you've just got your team with you. It's different. I think everything kind of you forget about Corona and the social distancing and all that, and it's just focused on playing that 90 minutes and coming out with hopefully the best result that you can come out with.
All right. Well, I don't really have much. Isaac, I do want to thank you again. Congratulations once again on getting that Defensive Player of the Week. Obviously, we know, it takes a lot to get that award every week in this conference. We do have a lot of outstanding defensive players. So once again, congratulations to you and the boys, and good luck as you take on Grandview University.
Thank you very much.
Shakespeare once said, "Some are born great, and some have greatness thrust upon them. The rest of us," he said, "have to achieve greatness." We know exactly what he means. Be not afraid of greatness. Achieve it. Benedictine College, where greatness begins.
Welcome inside the latest edition of the BRSN Insider. Josh Pound, always happy to be joined by head football coach Larry Wilcox. Thanks, Coach, for taking some time out of a busy preparation week for Grandview to sit down and talk about the first 2 weeks of the season. And that's where we'll start the conversation of 2-0 to start the year, and just take us back through how you think the first two games went for you and your squad.
Well, thanks for the invite, Josh. It's nice to keep everybody sort of up to speed. There were so many unknowns. I think those first two games sort of snuck up on everyone. First, the anticipation if there were even going to be any football games, and then the fact that we were as far away as we were over at Clark University. And then it was nice to be on campus this last Saturday. So I thought the first two games obviously went very well. Both wins for the Ravens. I think Clark University is a very much improved football team. I think they demonstrated that in week 2 when they got a substantial lead at Mid-American Nazarene in their second week. So for our guys defensively to toss a shutout at them was very strong. And it was fun to watch that unit play, and the offense improved through the second and third quarters. So that was good. And then we got a chance to play a lot of guys in that football game with all those that we could travel that far with. Week 2 at home versus Culver Stockton. They also are a greatly improved team. Coach Saleh came in 4 years ago, recruited a group of guys, and did an exceptional job of retaining them, so that they've played together for 3 and now 4 years. And so they have a lot of experience. They've got a lot of games under their belt. They had a big week 1 victory over Evangel, 34-17. And so we're feeling really good about that. It was a very close football game in the first half, 6-3 Ravens, primarily on a special team play versus Culver's punt team. And then the offense got rolling after that, and the defense continued to play exceptional throughout that contest and put a lot of pressure on their quarterbacks. I think we had 15 tackles for losses and sacks. So any time a team's going backwards, that can be difficult to recover from.
You got 9 interceptions defensively through the first 2 weeks. Obviously, some of that comes from two offenses that are a little bit more pass heavy than run heavy, but you have to feel pretty good about the way that your defensive backs are finding the ball so far.
Well, they've flown to the football, and that a lot of that has to do with the pressure that our defensive front is able to get on the QB position. And so Eli Lilly and Connor Haynes and Dwayne Lacey and our linebacker crew, which is extremely strong, have been able to put some pressure on those guys. And that's helped that secondary out, because that coming into the season, that was sort of our unknown on the defensive side of the football was the secondary. So they're gaining confidence, and their play is continuing to improve.
Offensively, pretty balanced so far between rushing and passing. Was that something that you had anticipated coming in to try to keep that somewhat balanced, or was there one way or the other that you were hoping maybe that you might be able to lean on?
Well, that's sort of a goal that we set about 35 years ago. So it's not necessarily new of having a balanced offense, run to pass. And we feel like we have to run the football. To this point, we've not been thrilled with our running game. It's come primarily from the quarterback position. So that's an area that we dramatically need to improve. And we're integrating a new backfield entirely. The guys that we're using back there hadn't had a carry for us really prior to this season. And then in the offensive line, with the graduation of several of the up front guys, that makes a difference. And the loss of a first-team All-American and Marquise Stewart is a big difference maker as well.
Well, and you alluded to it. You know, you've had some pretty successful rushing plays from both quarterbacks as you've kind of balanced that time between playing two quarterbacks without kind of giving away any trade secrets. Is that, you know, do you look to maybe split the series evenly, or is it just kind of dictated to you by where the game's at with who you put in there behind center as the game progresses?
Well, we want to get both quarterbacks in the game early in the game and give them an opportunity to get the feel for the contest. And, you know, it's not an easy thing to do for them or for us, either one, but we feel like it's the best way moving forward for us at this time is to give both guys as much game experience as we can. The beauty of it is we don't have to change any of the plays. It's not like one guy can do one thing and the other guy can do another thing. They're both able to do what we need them to do. So I don't know that necessarily the players or the people in the stands know who's in there because the offense is similar and they've each had big plays both as passes and runners.
Well, now that we've kind of had an opportunity to talk about the first 2 weeks, got a big opponent coming up for you in the squad this weekend in Grandview University up in Des Moines, and you know it's hard to believe it's been you know, this will be the 6th meeting since they joined the conference. It's kind of gone back and forth every year. The road team has been successful. What you know, and again, things are changing up. You don't have as much film on them this year. They've only played 1 game versus you guys have played 2. So what do you know about Grandview as you get ready to here on Wednesday, getting ready for them on Saturday?
Well, they're not going to change a whole lot either from what they've done in the past, I don't think. What they did in week 1 versus Evangel was much like what they would have done last year, both offensively and defensively. A few of the players have changed, but the majority of their returners are still with them. So they've got a veteran crew, but they're going to be solid at every position. That's why they went 11-0 last year and went into the national playoffs. So they're a very solid team. They're fast. They're strong. They're all the things that you think of when you think of good football teams. And at this level, they're among the best.
What are be some of the keys to the game for you and your team as you progress through? You know, you get to Saturday and you progress through the game, that if you could look and say, we do this, and this, that things will turn out in favor of you and your team.
Well, we have to run the ball better than we've done in the first 2 games and take some heat off our quarterbacks as we attempt to throw the ball. We feel really good about our skill people, our wide receivers, and so we've got to be able to get them the football, and protecting the quarterback is going to be huge. And then not having silly mistakes or foolish errors that will cost you. And that was a part of our problem in our loss to them last year here, were things like offsides and holding and illegal procedure. And so we have to not shoot ourselves in the foot with those kinds of penalties and not be working from a disadvantage, but because every yard is going to be important.
Well, as we get ready to go, the next week coming up, and then we, get to come back home and get a couple of home games again for you. So good luck to you this weekend, Coach. Go get the win, and we'll see you next week back here on campus.
Thanks a lot, Josh.
A wise man once said, "The world offers you comfort, but you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness." Discover what you were made for. Benedictine College, where greatness begins.
Welcome back to this edition of the BRSN Insider. Josh Pound, now happy to be joined by the Director of Cross Country and Track and Field here at Benedictine College, Jaquel Smith. Coach Smith, thanks for taking the time out of a hectic schedule. I'm sure that everybody's schedules now are crazy, hectic, not anywhere near what we would consider to be normal. So we do appreciate you taking the opportunity to sit down with us this afternoon.
No problem, Josh. Thanks for having me.
So 2 meets in now for you and your squad after a little bit of a delayed start and actually kind of almost a reset, so to speak, just because of some rescheduling and some changes to how things were going to look this year for cross country. So after 2 weeks, 2 pretty strong finishes in some smaller events for you and the team. Just talk about how you think the start of the season's gone so far.
I think we've done well across the board as, get prepared based off that first meet that got postponed, and was able to take that in and get better those next 2 weeks, because it actually gave us a little more time to get some more mileage up and get some more speed workouts in at the time. So we've done exceptionally well those past couple of weeks since that first meet got postponed, and the team is coming together. Of course, a couple of kids, finding out of quarantine and getting back with us fully. So we're trying to, get them back up to speed, and a couple of minor injuries, not major, but everybody's back running now. And that's the one thing we've been waiting on the past couple of weeks.
Well, obviously you mentioned it that, your squad has not been immune to dealing with the issues surrounding competing during a pandemic. If you don't mind, just talk to me a little bit about maybe how things look a little bit differently for you and the team as you train. And, people think how can cross country be a sport that can be affected from a situation that social distancing is the acceptable form of combating it. But really, you guys are around each other quite a bit, even though, cross country is an outdoor sport and a sport that does, lend itself to maybe being something that can be done in a social distance capacity. But just talk a little bit about what you've done as a program to help kind of mitigate and kind of control, as best we can dealing with competing in a pandemic.
Well, the information from athletic trainer Patrick, he's made us kind of breaking up to groups. So me and Coach Phil Davis has done a really good job of breaking our team up into groups at practice each time. It's real tough for them not to do that because they're all used to running together all the time and kind of feeding off each other doing runs, and especially long runs and stuff like that. But we've been able to put the groups together and make sure that everybody's prepared each practice, with the thermometer, with the temp check-ins and everything like that. I think the worst part for them is at the meets where it's no fans at a cross-country meet, and that's new to them. Of course, it's new to everyone, but at a cross-country meet, it's pretty different because, of course, we're outdoors and we're moving about the entire time, and the meet is not that long. So practices have been going pretty well, and as far as meets-wise, it's kind of what we've been missing, just the fan side of it. But, we haven't had a staggered start yet. It's kind of one of the things that people have been trying to petition to have, but it hasn't happened for us yet. So hopefully we can get through the season without that, because to us it's not helpful and not fun at all. Might as well do a time trial, but things have been going well on that end.
One of the biggest changes for you and the team as far as scheduling wise has been that the meets you have competed in have been smaller. They've not been as many teams and maybe not as necessarily as many student athletes. How do you feel like the team has adjusted to maybe not having the field in an event that they're used to, and as far as the number of athletes that they feed off of each other throughout the course of the race, and that's so big to pacing and things like that. How do you feel like your team's adjusted?
Well, we've been pushing them to kind of get out there and push themselves during practice so that they can be aware of what to expect at those smaller meets that we've had so far. And the biggest thing with that is that you're gonna have to learn how to run out front anyway if you want to get out there and win the championship. So the more we run out front at practice, the more we get out as a team in the meets, the better we'll be come championship time in November. But the team has have taken this in so well. Like I said, we've had our tough times early on in the season, but they're starting to pick it up, and start to understand why we're doing this. I think now we have a huge meet coming up soon too. So it'll be 10 to 15, maybe 20 teams there. So that'll be interesting for us because we're very excited about that one.
Well, and that's the meet at Mount Mercy, the Stampede. I can't remember the first part of that, but just talk about what it's going to be like to finally get out there, and that's really kind of maybe be the first test for you and the squad this year to get into a bigger meet and see where they're sitting. Yeah,
huge test for us. We're very excited. We have two to four kids that ran on the course before at the national meet. Melanie Coles, Sarah White, and Matthew Mason on the men's side. But those three have seen the course and know that it's relatively flat. So competition-wise, like I told them yesterday at practice, like, hey, we look pretty good right now on paper, but now we have to go to this meet where we can see a lot of teams across the NAIA, between Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri and Kansas, and they're they're all good. And it's time for us to make a statement and say, hey, you just put some people on notice. Let them know that Benedictine's in the house this next week coming up, and that we're here for business. And they took that for strides. In our meeting before we started running yesterday, and was like, okay, yeah, let's get after it. We had a really good practice yesterday, and hopefully have some more good practice coming up soon. But yeah, we're looking at some nationally ranked teams. I know the national rankings are supposed to come out tomorrow. As far as the conference right now, I think the men are sitting number 3 as of yesterday, and the women are number 1. But we want to keep that, stay there in those rankings, and the guys keep chipping away, trying to get up there between Baker and Evangel, and try to see how we can split those guys up. The one thing about it is we'll finally have one of our freshmen that we was looking into being really good for us at the beginning of the season, and Williams Cavuzzo, so he's back in the mix. Matt Mason will be back in the mix at the Seminole Valley Stampede. So that's a guy that's got great experience and knows what to expect. So once we get those guys going again, I know, like I said, Sebastian Fuentes, we just got to get everybody back healthy and out of quarantine so that we can get going. Like we have a really good group. We had a really good group without those guys, but now that they're back, I think we're going to be something to reckon with.
Well, you mentioned a couple of guys, a couple of the names on the men's team that you're looking for good things to come for the rest of the season. You mentioned a couple of your experienced runners on the women's side, but really both squads this year kind of been a balance for you of new faces and returners. Just talk about how that's gone for you in the squad.
Oh, it's going well. The women's side, you look at returning Mel Cozy. That was her first meet back last weekend. She didn't run the first meet. But she's stronger than ever, I believe, and has potential to lay down some really great times. And she's our leader. She's doing this. She's there. She's vocal, and just leading this group to success we're trying to get to. And then you have senior Sarah White, veteran, who's didn't run last year, hasn't ran a race since 2018, and all of a sudden she jumps out the first meet and has a good time since that time. And the Graceland course was a little tough with some rolling hills and everything, but back-to-back meets can also be tough. So, having this week to kind of go through practice and get some rest in between there and get some good quality practice in should be well. But one, those freshmen that we have on the women's side, Molly Rose she's a smaller son, but she's a firecracker on the course. I mean, she's just tough as nails. Caroline Cobo, who won the first meet, she's probably the strongest, to me, honestly, the strongest runner we have on the women's side. She can turn it on at any time. She can take it out if she wants to, but, across the board, I think our women's team from 1 to 17 has something special in them to step up at any time. So we're looking forward to that real soon. As far as the men, David Manella has been an impressive freshman so far for us. He's going to probably hit that 26 range real soon, especially on a flat course at Mount Mercy. But Colin Donovan has really stepped his game up this year as a leader, and he's kind of, the general for us, pushing the guys, motivating them. He's like our right-hand man when it comes to workouts, making sure he knows what paces and everything like that. But so I expect a lot from him. But, like I said, the freshman class, Cavuzzo, and, Thaddeus Freese is one of those guys whose brother ran for the school a couple years back. He's starting to make strides. He made a huge adjustment over the summer to get to where he needs to be now. And freshman Reese Danishik is going to be something special for us. Philip Joseph. But I'm very eager to see Matt Mason get back on into the racing mode, because that guy has had so much success running for this program. Coach Field has done a great job with those guys, and I just truly believe when he gets back into the mix, we're just going to be even more lethal than what we are now.
Well, a final thing here before we let you go. Obviously, depth in a normal year is huge because it allows you to kind of mix and match and put some people in position to maybe do some different things based off of what their strength is on flatter courses or hillier courses. But how critical has depth been this year, just from a perspective of pushing each other in practices and maybe being, the competition for each other in these smaller meets, and then also being to step up and fill out your team because you are missing one or two pieces because of quarantine and such?
Well, that was one of the things coming in when I took the job is I analyzed that roster from top to bottom. I was like, okay, what do we need to win this right now? Win cross country or win indoor and outdoor. And my goal was to stack on distance runners this year, because one thing about Benedictine in the previous years, our strength has been distance. So, I knew we had a couple of kids coming back from injuries, didn't know how that was going to play out. So I know that once we got them back, we still needed to have those 1 to 5 freshmen, or even a transfer if we had one, to step up. And they have tremendously done a remarkable job at following each other, pushing each other at practice, being that motivation. I mean, it's just tremendous to see every single day how much work these guys put in. Some of them even have jobs that they have to work. Some of them have strenuous schedules, some in band on top of that. It's just amazing to see how they've been putting it together lately. And like I said, between me and Coach Phil, pushing these guys on a daily basis, and it's going to turn out, I really think it's going to turn out great for us. It's just we have to remain healthy and remain focused on what the goal is. And the goal is to bring home a championship to Ashton.
All right, Coach. Well, congratulations on the good start, solid start to you and your squad. Good luck in a couple of weeks when you head up to Cedar Rapids. Hopefully the weather stays fall-like. We don't see any colder temperatures quite yet, but thank you for taking the time. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks, Josh.